Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. I am your host, Amy Cattapan. I'm having a bit of a rough night tonight with technology, and apparently it's also making my tongue trip as well. Well, if you're new to Cath-Lit Live, here's what we do. I bring you interviews with authors who have new books that are releasing or have just released, as is the case with tonight's guest. And if you're new around here, don't forget also to check out our sponsor, the Hello app at hello.app/CathLitLive. Well, I'm very excited about tonight's guest. She, like me, is a teacher and an author. In fact, if you check out my new book, A Saint Squad for Teachers, and you open it up inside, you will actually see an endorsement from tonight's guest. Can you read that there? Tonight's guest is Katie Bogner, and I'm sorry, Bogner, and I practice it too. I told you I'm having a rough night tonight. I'm gonna talk with Katie Bogner. She's a Catholic school teacher, blogger, and author. She is passionate about equipping parents, catechists, and teachers to share the beauty and truth of Christ and his church with their students. She is the creator behind the popular website looktohimandberadiant.com, where she shares hundreds of completely free lesson plans, printables, and other resources for teaching the faith. Katie is the author of 4 books for Catholic kids: Through the Year with Jesus, Through the Year with Mary, all about Advent and Christmas, and the brand new picture book we're going to be talking about tonight, which is called We Have a Pope. Please help me welcome Katie Bogner. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
Well, I'm having some technical difficulties tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, besides just tripping on my tongue a couple of times, we're actually going live to my personal Facebook page right now instead of my professional page because it just did not want to connect.
That's okay. Friends everywhere on Facebook. It doesn't matter where.
Friends everywhere. And I'll get this out on my professional Facebook page and on my YouTube channel and Instagram as well. But I am so excited to have you on today. We followed each other on Instagram for a while, and I've read everybody your bio, but can you tell us a little bit about this newest book, We Have a Pope?
Yes, it just released last week, so just like 5 days ago. And it is a fully illustrated picture book about the Pope, which I think surprised a lot of people with topic. But so it does everything from, goes through a little bit of the history of the papacy, from like Jesus calling Peter and giving him the keys to the kingdom, to the succession of the popes throughout the centuries, and then actually dives into how a papal conclave works, and how a pope is elected. And it does it all in like a few hundred words. So papal history for kids in a picture book.
Okay, so what inspired you to write Papal History for Kids? That's a lot to fit into a short picture book with a short word count.
It is. So I'm going to be honest, my editor was the one who kind of came up with the idea. And we were kind of prompted, like thinking about different papal conclaves that we've experienced as adults. I was teaching when Pope Francis was elected, and I remember scrounging and looking everywhere for resources and not coming up with a lot, and certainly not coming up with a lot that would be good for kids. So I was making up things on the fly and trying to like take news broadcasts and bring them down to their level. And instead we're like, the papacy is such a rich gift that we have as Catholics. Why would we not just make a standard resource that is not tied to a specific pope, that explains what a beautiful gift the papacy is, as well as the cool details and like the behind the scenes of how a pope is elected?
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of teachers are going to be able to use that. Now, it's an illustrated picture book. So you were the writer, and then you had an illustrator, Kortnee Senn. Tell me about that collaboration and how the text and the pictures work together.
Yeah, so I was so stoked when she said yes to the project, but I wrote all of the text before she started illustrating. It wasn't like we were working side by side, but I did put a lot of, because obviously I had like a picture in my head or ideas of symbols or things that I thought would be good to be included. And so I had a lot of like illustrator notes or just ideas and brainstorming. And then we did quite a few like Zoom calls with our editor and just kind of like talked things through as she sketched them, and then she tried to see how she could make things work. And she's an author herself. She has several published children's books, and she's like, it was really hard to be just the illustrator and to take your words and put them with my art. But she did an absolutely amazing job. So there's tons of beautiful like architecture of of Vatican City and of St. Peter's Basilica. But then she also does a great job working in the different like symbols of the papacy, and tying in especially St. Peter, of course. But then there's a little nod to Pope Benedict right there. None of the popes in the book are specifically labeled, but obviously we tend to recognize some different things. This illustration is specifically my favorite, and I know it's got to be kind of hard to see on the screen, but the idea was I wanted to emphasize that Jesus called Peter to be the first pope and gave him the keys to the kingdom. And the church is sometimes called the bark of St. Peter. And we'll notice that, like, the nave of a church, nave comes from, think like navel, it's a boat word, right? So then in the reflection here, we have the architecture of a church inside, and all of the colors match. So the gold of the keys matches the gold of the tabernacle. There's a little red ribbon in there that matches the sanctuary lamp. The white sails is like the white altar linens. And so this idea that the church that Jesus founded has continued until even today. So like when I first kind of described what I was, sort of imagining for that picture, like I honestly think Kortnee thought I was crazy, but she rolled with it. She was such a good sport. And so she just started sketching and throwing out ideas and came up with such a beautiful version of that. So yeah, it was really cool. This is another really neat one where she figured out how to show the succession of the popes throughout time and like the figurative keys being passed on. So it was really fun to work together with her and to take the vision that we had and work together with her talent and what she was able to do. It was a really fun project.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question we didn't plan for, but it got me thinking, is there any like teacher guide? Because like, I'm thinking someone would just pick up that book and not realize the colors and the symbolism and all the extra little things they could talk about with their kids, especially if they, we're doing it with a little older age group. They might get some of that stuff that the littles might just, have a different reaction.
And I've heard, I mean, just kind of on that note, I've heard from so many people with older kids that have said, this is not a typical picture book that you're just going to read to 5-year-olds. Like this is something that you could use to explain it to older kids too. So there's 2 resources we have, but you're making me think a little bit about what we could have ready to go. So there's 2 things. If you order directly from the St. Paul Center, we made a huge packet of bonus activities because that's like my passion is like, here's the plug and go, here's all the things you can print. So everything from some like papal trading cards that have facts about all of the pictures of the popes that are included, like when were they pope and what were they known for? And here's a quote that they said, along with some of those coloring pages. We have Kortnee turned her images into a line art. So it's a coloring page, but I'm all about the catechesis. And so it also has like captions that explain things on the side. There's also a really great appendix in the back that I know is too tiny to see, but it goes through, we like drop a lot of really beautiful, eloquent language, things like Bernini's Colonnade and the Room of Tears and a scrutiny. So we just use it in the book, like, in a short sentence, but then in the back, there's a really kid-friendly definition to help you talk about it. And then there's also all the Latin phrases, not all, but a lot of the Latin phrases used during a conclave, those are included in the back. Places you can read about the Pope in the Bible. So this appendix has quite a lot that would be helpful for teachers and parents who want to go a little deeper.
Yeah, that's a great resource. So how are you hoping that this is going to help Catholic kids and their families?
Yeah, I mean, I know I already mentioned, but like the papacy is a great gift that we have as Catholics, but I also think it's really misunderstood. I think sometimes we kind of stray away from it or we don't know how to do like the apologetic side of things with our non-Catholic friends and family. And so it might be harder to talk with kids about the good things, the gift of the papacy and the legacy that we have. And so really, I'm just hoping that this helps create a little bit more of a foundation in Catholic homes and Catholic classrooms of like, we are the church that Jesus founded, that Jesus called Peter to lead the church and has called every pope since then to do the same. And that we can see, one thing I haven't mentioned is the main character of the book is actually the Holy Spirit. So there's a little Holy Spirit dove that like you can find on almost all of the pages that's leading, the story and leading the conclave. And so also to see that we're not a man-made institution, that we are being guided by the winds of the Holy Spirit, and to pray for our leaders and to look with hope to the future. So I really hope that it helps Catholic kids understand more about, how wonderful it is that we have the Pope and that it was a gift from Jesus himself.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I know a lot of people are going to want to buy this and read it and share it, and lots of teachers are going to make good use of it. So where can people find out more about this book and your other books as well?
Yeah, all of my books have been published from the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology, so stpaulcenter.com. But of course, they're also on Amazon and all kinds of other places. And then I know you read it in my bio, but my website is looktohimandberadiant.com, which is a super long title. You can also just Google my name and you'll find me. And everything I have on my website is completely free. So there's lesson plans and coloring pages and book lists, and everything is there for teachers and parents and catechists to use.
Awesome, Katie. Well, thank you for everything that you do to help out your fellow Catholic school teachers and for providing them with these books to use and for families.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Amy.
All right. Thanks for being on. We're going to wave goodbye to Katie. All right. So, well, that, it's a little rough with my technical difficulties, but I think that was a great conversation with Katie about her latest book, and I hope that you go and check it out. She did send me a little digital copy, so I'm going to peek through some more at those illustrations. They look really cool. And I hope that if you've read some of Katie's books in the past, let us know, comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, because as soon as this is done on Facebook, I try to get up on YouTube as soon as possible. So until next time, I'm just going to wish you all happy reading.